This is Katrin with Disability Rights New York. Welcome to our podcast, Empire State of Rights Closed Captioned. We are here to bring you information on the most relevant topics regarding disability rights and advocacy. Today we have Zach Borodkin, staff here at DRNY. He's here to discuss his latest experience with the Major League Baseball Event Accessibility. How you doing today, Zach?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Zach, you're a big baseball fan?
Yes, I am.
And who's your favorite team?
I am a Yankee fan.
Very nice. As I told you earlier, I really don't know much about many sports, but I do like to attend them, as most people do. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience attending the last Major League Baseball event?
So this was at the end of last year. This was in October, and it was the wild card game. So it was the playoffs. Tickets, as you know, are going to be very expensive. So I chose standing room only, which were the cheapest tickets. Now, standing room only means that you can stand anywhere in the stadium that you want, but you have to stand. There's no sitting or, what have you. So what happened was my friend and I went to this game, and because of my disability, I can't stand for long periods of time. My disability is cerebral palsy, which causes muscle tightness. So standing for long periods of time, it's sometimes a literal pain. And what happened was my friend and I, after about an hour and a half, decided that we both wanted to sit down, but the staff wouldn't let us sit, because when we tried to sit, they said, these aren't your seats. You ordered standing room only tickets. You have to stand. And we got very frustrated because I actually told them, I understand, but I have a disability and can't stand for long periods of time.
And so was their reaction, first of all, let me ask, were these seats already occupied by someone else?
Yes, they were occupied by someone else, but with that being said, my intention was not to take somebody else's seat just for the purpose of sitting. I really believe, despite the fact that I got standing room only, that there should have been an accommodation for me since I have a disability.
Some area for you to sit down and rest if you needed to.
Correct.
So how about entering the stadium and getting to the area that you wanted to get to? Were those pretty accessible for you?
So entering the stadium was fine. It was your usual security check. So I had to wait in line, go through a metal detector, which I'm fine with. The stadium, it's Yankee Stadium, so it's pretty spacious despite being crowded. I had no trouble walking, getting to my seats. There were no barriers on my path of travel, if you will. But the barrier came, again, when I tried to sit, because the staff wouldn't let me sit, and they wouldn't provide me any sort of seating, even though I specifically told them that I needed to sit.
So it sounds like the stadium is trying to do its best to have the stadium itself accessible. And as an advocate, what would you want the Major League Baseball staff and stadium staff to know about your experience and give them some ideas on some changes that could be made?
MLB always says that their priority is for enjoyment, for fans to enjoy the game. And, what I would like for them to take away from this story is that every stadium has its own policies when it comes to the Americans with Disabilities Act, but there are really no policies that are geared toward physical disabilities in the context of this person can't stand for a long time, or this person has trouble getting around. The accommodations that they provide are more sensory and audio accommodations, that you can even bring in an animal, if you will. So what I would like them to take away is to look deeper into their policies, and I think that in order to emphasize this enjoyment, they should really take into account that disability is really coming into the American culture in all aspects, whether it be sports or business or entertainment, disability is really starting to come into the fold, and I think that they should, look at some of their own policies and look deeper as to how they can accommodate everyone to get that full enjoyment.
It sounds like we're really talking about maybe a new training to have some fluidity around policies that have to do with the Americans with Disability Act. Would that be fair to say?
Correct. Now, what they do, just to give you some background, is there is a section that is a few feet away from the barriers in the stands. It's a small section. It's like a tiny rectangle that people stand in, which is supposed to be the standing room. And what happens is when the people stand there, they're also in the path of travel of people roaming about the stadium. So when you have people roaming about the stadium who are consuming food and also alcohol, it becomes a issue of safety as well.
So it sounds like there should be some updating on their policies as well as training for staff to really recognize that these are things that are happening within the stadium, and areas that are designated for one thing may oftentimes be compromised in another way.
Correct. And I think, putting that specific language in would really give them an idea as to how to look at their policies and how to execute their policies, because it's not asking for much. It's just asking to provide seating for people that need it.
So outside of those changes or updates, would you suggest any other types of changes to be made?
I would suggest moving the space that people with disabilities can stand. I would suggest moving it closer to the field, not down toward the field, but closer to where the barriers are for people with disabilities. That way, the people who are actually standing in this specific spot aren't in harm's way, and it reduces the chance of any kind of collision.
So, Zach, what advice would you offer others with disabilities who also may be interested or attending a Major League Baseball event?
So first and foremost, to the fans out there who purchased these tickets, you paid for your ticket. You paid for your ticket with your money. Therefore, and I'm not going to use this word lightly, you are entitled to an accommodation. What advice I would give them in this moment is to seek a staff member, and I know it can be difficult for people to be open about their disability, and I understand, but again, in this moment, be open with the staff member about your disability. Tell them that you have a difficult time standing, even though you purchase standing room only tickets. Because sometimes, as was the situation with me, there's nothing you can do when you purchase a standing room only ticket. There are other reasons why you purchased this ticket. For me, it was not only physical, but it was economical as well, because they were the cheapest tickets. So again, I would encourage members of the disability community, when you attend these games and purchase standing room tickets, try and be open and be calm with the staff member, and just tell them that you have a disability and that you need this accommodation.
And as much as we're talking about baseball right now, I would gather that this is really something that happens in most major sporting events, that there are areas that need to be updated as far as policies are concerned, and there's going to be a possibility you'll need to self-advocate. Would that be fair?
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned policy updates, because starting this year, Major League Baseball will be getting rid of the term disabled list.
That's right. We actually posted that article. Pretty interesting that they're looking at that as far as language is concerned. So it would only make sense that they should follow through even for their fans and for people to come and enjoy their games.
Exactly, because the language that they want to change can also be part of that training and enhancing the enjoyment for the fan.
Absolutely. It looks like we have some great suggestions for the Major League Baseball Association.
Definitely.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to talk to us about your experience, as well as some advice that you have, not just for fans, but also for the stadiums as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I know the season starts in a couple of weeks, so this would be a great time to get out and not only go to the game, but to self-advocate. Because while the change won't be immediate, it's always important to raise awareness. So I encourage fans in the disability community, get out there and go enjoy the game, but also be an advocate for yourself.
That's great. Thank you so much. And as you said, the season will open in a couple of weeks. Let us know how your next experiences are.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of our audience today. If you've had a similar experience at a baseball stadium or sporting event, please comment below or contact us at podcast@drny.org. Let's keep this conversation going. Empire State of Rights Closed Captioned has been brought to you by Disability Rights New York, your source for disability rights and advocacy. If you enjoyed our program, and we hope you did, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this post. If there is a subject you would like us to discuss, please email podcast@drny.org or comment below. Tune in next time where we'll bring you more information on disability rights in the state of New York. The closed captioned version of this podcast is available on our YouTube channel.